The story of the show's creation begins at the White House on May 12, 2009, when he performed the first song for the first time. It ends with opening night on Broadway, August 6, 2015, just after he completed the final scenes of the show. The account of what happened in the intervening 6 years is based on what I saw in script meetings, set meetings, presentations, workshops, dressing room hangouts, and at some excellent parties. It also draws on interviews with more than 40 people close to the show and on timely glimpses into their notebooks, inboxes, and Twitter feeds, Lin's in particular. All of the listening and watching and talking yielded 3 large surprises. The first is that while Hamilton looks seamless and effortless and inevitable, it was none of those things. It could have been, and at several points almost was, a very different show. Thousands of choices and a fair bit of luck shaped the result. The same can be said of the 18th century revolution, inevitable in retrospect, but unprecedented and all but impossible to imagine ahead of time. Second, the narrative of the show's creation amplifies the show's themes, like the one about how stories harden into history. A few hours before the opening night performance on Broadway, sitting in his dressing room, Lin and I realized that the tale we'd been telling about the show's origins, the already mythic account of how the idea came to him poolside in Mexico, wasn't entirely right. Lin got the idea from reading Ron Chernow's biography of Alexander Hamilton, and he read the book in Mexico. That much is true. But our late-night conversation about a hip-hop version of Hamilton's life happened a week before he started that trip. After much baffled poring over emails, we realized he must have read a few chapters as soon as he bought the book, and that was enough for him to come up with the idea, and even with a title, which was already in place by the first night we met: The Hamilton Mixtape. If we can't keep our own history straight, then the process of legacy formation that obsessed Hamilton and his contemporaries is even more fraught than we think, and the results more suspect. Lastly, the secret history of Hamilton, if anything about the most heralded show in a generation can be regarded as secret, is that Lin's uniquely single-handed achievement as composer, lyricist, librettist, and star required the artistry of dozens of very gifted people to be realized. A bunch of people from a bunch of backgrounds had to come together to make it work. And they did this so well that an even bigger bunch of people from yet more backgrounds flocked to see it. Alexander Hamilton would have admired the unifying power of the show based on his life, and would have felt vindication. Henry Cabot Lodge, who edited a collection of Hamilton's papers, wrote, "The dominant purpose of Hamilton's life was the creation of a national sentiment, and thereby the making of a great and powerful nation from the discordant elements furnished by 13 jarring states." The widely acclaimed musical that draws from the breadth of America's culture and shows its audience what we share doesn't just dramatize Hamilton's revolution. It continues it. The comparison might strike you as far-fetched. What, you might be asking, can a Broadway musical possibly add to the legacy of a founding father? A giant of our national life, a war hero, a scholar, a statesman. What's one little play, or even one very big play, next to all that? But there is more than one way to change the world. To secure their freedom, the polyglot American colonists had to come together and stick together in the face of enormous adversity. To live in a new way, they first had to think and feel in a new way. It took guns and ships to win the American Revolution, but it also required pamphlets and speeches, and at least one play. In the desolate winter of 1777 and 78, General George Washington led the freezing, starving remnants of his army to Valley Forge. During that bleak encampment, when the prospects for American independence were as feeble as they would ever be, what did he do to strengthen his troops' resolve to defeat tyranny and secure their freedom? He arranged a production of his favorite play, Joseph Addison's Cato, which is about a man who gave his life to do just that. J.M.
Act 1. I am a stranger in this country. I have no property here, no connections. Alexander Hamilton, 1780. Chapter 1. On the origins of revolution, both national and musical, with reference to opening numbers and White House raps. Lin could see President Obama, that President Obama couldn't see.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.